countries with deep industrial roots and futuristic ambition
began to write a different kind of trade story.
In a world of economic warfare,
they chose cooperation. In a decade of decoupling, they chose reinvention.
This is not about free trade. It's about fair, fearless futures.
The playoff begins.
That's right, playoff begins on the biggest topic of our times. I'm going to first invite the players of this playoff on stage. From Germany, we have State Councillor Kasper Sutter, Head of Department of Economic, Social and Environmental Affairs, Canton of Basel-Stadt. Thank you, Mr. Sutter. Please. We have Mr. Joachim Erdle, Member of Board of Managing Directors, LBBW. Please, huge round of applause for Mr. Erdle. Thank you. And from India, we have Mr. Sachidanand Shukla, Group Chief Economist of Larsen & Toubro, requesting you to please take the stage. Huge round of applause for Mr. Sachidanand Shukla. We also have Professor Sachin Kumar Sharma, Director General, Research and Information System for Developing Countries. Sir, please, requesting you to take the stage as well. And, as I said, this is a playoff, which means the playoff will have a referee. And let me now invite the referee to take the stage, Mr. Stefan Halusa, former Director General, Indo-German Chamber of Commerce. Stefan Halusa, please, requesting you to take the stage and referee this playoff for us. All yours.
Now? Yeah, now it works. Thank you very much. And of course, a very good evening, good afternoon. Evening is later today. We're looking forward to that. But now we would like to talk about and spice the conversation up a little bit by talking about trade agreements and trade wars happening at the same time. The scene has been set. Obviously, this whole discussion has been triggered about a year ago. And I remember last year when we met here for the first News9 Global Summit, Mr. Trump had just been re-elected into the office of the President of the United States, and we all know how often in his campaign he has mentioned the fact that he's going to impose tariffs right after the elections. At that time, I was surprised that many Indian entrepreneurs and top management were of the opinion that actually that may play out to the benefit of India, because most certainly Mr. Trump will focus on another country with those tariffs, and that was again confirmed by a survey that the Indo-German Chamber did together with KPMG earlier this year, where the majority again thought that, again, India, the Indian economy, Indian industry may actually benefit from these tariffs. Now, of course, we are a little bit further down the year, and I think that seems to be quite a miscalculation. India is now, or Indian products are now burdened with 50% of tariffs, and I would like to ask my first question to Professor Sharma. You are in your function as the Director General of an Indian think tank also observing, you're monitoring these mega trade agreement negotiations. Now, where are we with the discussions between, or negotiations between the US and India? Is there any progress? Can we expect an agreement sometime soon? After all, it has hit India quite hard.
Thank you very much, and thanks TV9 for inviting me for this wonderful event. On this Trump tariff, one or two things which I would like to mention about this. Yes, this is a very uncertain time, and even if you are trading with any country, there are trade issues are there with many countries, but this trade issue need to be tackled with negotiation, with dialogue. But if a country imposes unilateral measures, then it's not going to work. It is going to create more uncertainty, and it's not good at all for any country. Now, about the narrative being built about India like a tariff king, or we are creating barrier, let I make it also very clear that if these countries themselves introspect, and if they see their tariff and non-tariff barriers, what they are imposing on the global south, then the picture would be very different. I give you one example. Even in many countries, like a product like peanut, the rich country, they impose more than 160% tariff. Where you will get this kind of figure? The problem is that to make a narrative that the country is a protectionist, and then they wanted to make or take market access. That is not going to work. For this, we all countries need to understand the sensitivity of each other, and if we are not able to understand the sensitivity of each other, then it's not good for any country. We need to believe in the rule-based multilateral system. That's what we are believing. There need to be a rule-based world order, and this world order should not be dictated by the unilateral action. That's one thing. And yes, to make the trade negotiation further, the government of India is taking step. We are believe in the dialogue, and we are working on this aspect. Yes, we have a lot of sensitivity, and if these sensitivities are considered, then yes, very soon we will work on, we will have concrete trade deals. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, of course, we would all like to see this agreement sometime soon. I guess the complication comes when one side believes in conversations and in compromises and playing by the rules, and the other side doesn't. That makes the playoffs slightly more difficult. But I would like to move on to Joachim Erdle. You are in close contact with industry, with companies of all sizes in all sectors. So what do we hear from them right now? How much does that uncertainty, especially the uncertainty coming from changing tariffs overnight without any notice period, how is that impacting their plans, their investment plans, and does that affect all regions, all sectors, or are some regions or sectors maybe kind of immune against these uncertainties?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Immunity would be great, but I guess nevertheless, I mean, this is not really the case. I think what we need to have in mind is the export-oriented economic model of Germany, I mean, really is under pressure. And it has not been started some months ago, it started some 10 years ago. And therefore, a lot of our customers already invested international. So most of our customers are well prepared. However, what we have seen in the last couple of months, maybe 1-2 years, there was an enormous increase in capex, especially in the US, mainly driven by subsidies like the IRA. And therefore, most of our customers, first of all, stick with their strategy and their plan, because in most cases, it's a long-term strategy. But given the uncertainty which we are facing at the moment in the market, mainly driven by tariffs and some other issues, I would say some of them starting to postpone investment. I think the good news is they only postpone. They don't cancel. So they are waiting for a more stable environment and then again pick up their plans and go further with their international investment strategy. This is what we hear from our client. So overall, I mean, the US and all the other countries remain attractive markets from a commercial point of view. Again, I mean, all of our customers look very, very carefully at the environment and appreciate stability, which is not the case at the moment. But once they feel comfortable, they definitely restart with their activities.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think stability is an important factor in this game, and of course one of the other results of the business outlook is always that political stability speaks for India, because this is one of the criteria that is always ranked highest when we ask what are your reasons to invest in India. So I guess stability is really the name of the game here. I would like to move on to Kaspar Sutter from Switzerland, not from Germany. I think there was a small mistake at the beginning here. But looking at, of course, Switzerland, Switzerland has now been burdened with 39% of import duties. I think that was something that was completely unexpected. Now there is the threat, at least, to impose another 100% of tariffs on pharmaceuticals, which I guess would hit the industry in China, in Switzerland quite hard, especially also in and around Basel. Is there already a way of assessing the kind of damage that is doing to the industry in Switzerland, or how are companies responding? Are they also continuing with their plans or just postponing? What's the reaction of the industry in Switzerland?
So first, thank you very much that I can be here as a Swiss person at the German-Indian Summit. It's very interesting to see all that thing. Me coming from Basel, mainly focused on pharmaceutical and life sciences. It's the biggest one in Europe. So, and yeah, a lot of exports of Switzerland. Half of the exports are from the pharmaceutical products, so mainly our companies of Basel would be affected. Until now, yeah, Switzerland, a free trade orientated small country, economically very potent and very strong. We are always looking for free trade because we think that free trade is the best of everything. We are always looking for multilateralism, which is very much hurt and not accepted anymore by the US. So we see at the moment the situation of insecurity, that you never know what's going to happen. If a tweet can change the rules in the United States, the country where a lot of companies would like to invest, but at the same time you have all these insecurities. And so I think it's the main thing we try to keep on is to be reliable and predictable, and to give this safe situation for foreign investments which investing in Switzerland. So up to now we have this 39% of tariffs, which is very high compared with our European neighbors and also with other countries. So it's not 50 like India, but 39 is very much. US, as you can imagine, is after Germany the most important trading country for Switzerland. So, but yeah, pharmaceuticals are not included yet. So we have these tariffs on machinery, very much hit, watches, chocolates, and things like that. So up to now, it's quite difficult to see the effect on our economy, because a lot of companies that did like brought all the goods before the tariffs to the US. So when you see the first half of this year, numbers look very good because everybody produced a lot and brought it to United States. And now to see what's happening if the companies are able to increase prices in US, if they find other partners in other regions of the world, it's quite difficult to see, or if it's also a reduction in the profits of these trading. It's for us, it's very difficult. From the pharmaceuticals, we always said tariffs on innovative medicine, it's not a good idea because it's paid by the patients and nothing else. So normally states are not taking these measurements because it's not in the interests of their patients. So we don't know. It looks like a power play to try to bring investments to US, which our big companies, they're very strongly invested in the United States already. So, and of course, since COVID, you can also see that investments in production, at least of medicines, is going closer to the patients and the markets. This is already before Mr. Trump came into power. So I think this is the shift we see globally, that medicines production is going closer to the patients. But yeah, up to now, to your main question, the impact on the economy, I can't really give you an answer at that moment.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I would like to ask a similar question to Sajidan and Shukla. I mean, L&T has, if I remember correctly, 5 locations in the United States. So you're operating in the United States. Do you already see an impact on your business development, the operations in the US? So what are you expecting in the months to come?
Thank you, TV9 and the land. Thank you, TV9 and the land, for this opportunity. I am an economist, and therefore I would want to talk about economics rather than the company's plans. But before that, let me give you a caveat as an economist. For whatever I'm going to say now, for every economist, you have an equal and opposite economist, right? And whatever he or she says about the future, it's likely to be wrong on the both sides. Having said that, I think on a serious note, it's very easy to get swept away with this whole talk of tariffs and the problems that it is causing to the rest of the world. But I think the US is not new to protectionism. We have seen various regimes and presidencies actually come up with tariffs. Remember the 1980s when they tried to throw out the Japanese and so on and so forth. So there have been multiple such episodes. Let us also look at some of the positives. What is happening is, because of the US policies, you now have multipolar demand from the global economy. What I mean is, earlier there were only the US and the Chinese growth.
Now what you have is he's shaken the pot, and therefore the fiscal inertia that existed in Europe and some of the other places, that is beginning to change. You will get to see more levers of global demand. Also, let's not forget what we are getting is low oil prices, lower commodity prices, and new age, emergence of new age sectors and technologies. It's also led to diversification plans and strategizing by corporates like us everywhere in the world. And finally, it has given India an opportunity to look inwards in terms of what's been wrong, the tariff policies, the kind of policies that we have been using or in international trade. It is time now to cleanse a lot of that. If we do that, there is a huge opportunity. We can work with partners who share the same vision and who have the same shared goals and shared future, like Germany, and there is a much brighter future ahead. You did talk about stability and reliability. Let me give you a couple of stats. If you look at India, last 30 years, this economy has grown at 6% compounded. That means the economy has gone up 13 times in the last 30 years. The per capita income has gone up by about 9 times. If you compare that to the US, it's gone up by 4.7 times in terms of GDP. Per capita just under 3, right? Look at Germany or France or UK. The GDP has gone up by just 2.5 times in this period. And also per capita incomes have gone up by 2.1, 2.2 times. So I think if you look at it from a future perspective, even if India does no better than the past, growing at 6%, real terms 6.5%, plus some inflation, nominal terms 11%, this is an economy, $4 trillion and doubling every 7 years. Where are you going to find that? So I think if you look at reliability, stability, you mentioned about political stability, I think there is no better place to do business than India.
Thank you very much. And also for now shifting the attention maybe more to the Indo-German or Indo-EU corridor. And I would like to take this up next with the question. I mean, we've heard this, the negotiations are ongoing between India and the EU now for some time. And we heard Mr. Šefčovič speaking this morning, and the Commissioner said that he's, I think, maximizing efforts, which is, of course, good news. But I listened very carefully. I didn't really hear any detail about the progress that we're taking. And I would like to start with Professor Sharma again. I mean, again, assuming that you're watching these negotiations, do you see the progress? And if so, can you indicate where the best or how the best known obstacles are being approach, like agriculture, CBAM, because these have been blocking, I think, the negotiations for a long time. And in addition, of course, now there's again the threat by the US of additional tariffs on all countries which are importing Russian oil. Will that add complexity? Will that slow down the negotiations? What's your view here?
Yeah, thank you very much. About India-EU FTA, there is much progress is happening at the moment. Yes, since morning, the prediction that by end of this year we will able to finalize the this India-EU FTA. But yes, there are some sticking points as well there. One point is all about the sustainabilities. The sustainability means all like sustainability, whether it's Indian or Germany or Swiss, but the approach to sustainability is very different country to country. The definition is very different. For instance, when we talk about the sustainability from India's perspective, there are 3 dimensions: environment, social, economic. But if we take only environmental sustainability and make unilateral rules like CBAM, then it may happen that many of the SME industry may be excluded from the multilateral system. This is the one concern which in India we have about the sustainability. In agriculture, like European Union, we also have a lot of sustainability. I, being the negotiator of Government of India to the WTO for 16 years, I have seen the sensitivity of the European Union, where the US again and again they wanted market access in the European Union, but EU was reluctant to even to negotiate the market access. We also have the defensive interest, because we have millions of low-income or resource-poor farmers, and the livelihood, the life, the rural development, all is connecting with the agriculture. So these are some of the issues which are sensitive, and for this sensitivity, both India and EU need to come together. The one thing that we are in this football stadium, and in football, each team tried to score against each other to make more goal. But here, India and Germany have to come together to make one goal. That is a shared prosperity, where we can all come together and we can make all trading system very inclusive. That's the way forward.
Thank you very much, and I would like to ask Mr. Adler as well, what is your assessment now about the progress in the negotiations? I mean, both countries have proven that they're capable of concluding agreements. India concluded with EFTA last year, with the UK this year, and then there was the agreement signed between Indonesia and the EU just recently. Just between India and the EU, somehow things get stuck, and we heard today we're looking at an agreement by the end of this year, or maybe early next year, which seems to be an indication that progress is not as fast as we hoped it to be. From your point of view, how would your clients react if that would be postponed again? Would that cause companies to maybe then relook at or revisit their investment plans and say that I go rather to Indonesia, or maybe Indian companies would say, well, then I'm going to Switzerland or the UK because there we have agreements?
Very good question. What we are seeing is that, our customers are looking maybe for stability, but more important is predictability and clarity. So once we know the framework, the circumstances, it's much easier to deal with them. This is currently a real issue for our customers. So finally, I would say a lot of our customers already invested in India, but they invested in India due to the attractive local market. And the market is attractive, as we have learned, huge growth rates, highly attractive employees levels, etc., etc. So I would say having a clear framework in place will definitely help to finally decide now to either extend investments in India or start really entering the Indian market. And therefore, if it will be postponed to the beginning of next year, our corporates will look at it and say, okay, we're not surprised because we experienced this for now 20 years roughly. But finally, they are really prepared because they have their plan, as already mentioned. They have the strategy, and once they have clarity, then they will really start either investing more or really start entering the Indian market. And the Indian market is highly attractive. And putting together the competences of India and EU corporates obviously create additional value on both sides. And this makes it so attractive, and therefore, I would rather prefer to have the FTA in place earlier than later, because then we will really start lifting these advantages on both sides. But I would finally, it's not only a question, if it is the end of this year or maybe in Q1 26, but it should be finalized on a really short-term basis.
Yeah, I guess we all hope so, that it's going to be the case. Now, of course, Switzerland or the EFTA has been successful in concluding a trade agreement. I'm not sure whether it's a free trade agreement, but it's called a trade agreement with India last year. So the question would be, what can we learn from EFTA, from the negotiators? What did you do better, or how was the approach different to come to this result? Obviously, one big commitment was made, and that is 100 billion investment from EFTA companies or corporates into India over the next 15 years. Is that like the ticket price for an agreement? Is that what you have to pay to get one, or were there other means?
For Switzerland as a small country, it's very important to have clear agreements with the best, with every country on globally. So obviously with the European Union, where we had very good bilateral agreement, where we have a new package, we are now going to find the ratification and the popular vote, I guess, in Switzerland, for have a clear situation with the European Union. But with India, I'm very happy that it was able to conclude as a EFTA, so we did it together with Iceland, Liechtenstein and Norway, to have this free trade agreement. It's called Trade and Economic Partnership Agreement actually, but it brings lower tariffs on 95 of the exported goods, no tariffs on almost 85 of the exported goods within 10 years, so it's like a temporary, it's changing every year. And on the other side, it's this commitment to have direct investments of 100 billion from these 4 countries in India in the upcoming 15 years. And for us, what was also very important was the protection of intellectual property rights. I think that's, if we want to have fair trade, it's very important to find agreements on that. That's innovation, which is also important for Baden-Württemberg, is clearly protected. It's good for both sides to have clear rules on the protection of intellectual property rights. And now, 8 days ago, it started. It's in power, so obviously we don't see the effects in this short time. But yeah, I'm convinced, because India is a growing market, very important with young population, that it will have a big impact on the trade on both sides and also on the investments on both sides. So normally when you're trading with each other, then you also start investing in the other country, which helps both sides. So I'm looking quite forward to that agreement we have as Switzerland with India, and I hope that it will strengthen the trading and the investment relations between the 2 countries.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kaspar, because of course that's the expectation when you conclude an agreement. And so let's see about the progress. And I would like to ask Sajid Anand again about, from your point of view, when we look at the conclusion of the trade agreement, would that mean that also Europe gets much more attractive as an investment destination for Indian companies? Would you see that there is a lot of investment then coming from India into Europe, hopefully, of course, Germany, hopefully Baden-Württemberg, but also other European countries? And or in the case of a failure, could that also mean that investments are going to Switzerland or to the UK or other countries India has an agreement with?
It's never a good idea to let an economist stand between lunch and people, but I think it's very, very important to ask that question. If you look at the FTAs or the negotiations that we've been having forever, very, very important to understand what we are striving to achieve. As one of the largest blocks of economic growth, and if you look at India, it's soon going to become the 3rd largest, and so on and so forth. I think it's very important to understand the shared values, where we are going to in terms of, so while it may have taken us more than a decade to arrive at an agreement, but I think whatever we get, maybe this year or the next, I think is going to be good for the rest of the world. India, with its basic pillars of democracy and demand, is likely to be one of the forces of good for the rest of the world. And I think Europe can partner with India in its journey. And if you look at the way Indian economy is going to grow, and multiple sectors, for example, just infrastructure, we have invested about $1 trillion in just the last 7 years, right? And the consumption market is about another $3 trillion. And all of this, if it is going to double every 7 years, it offers tremendous scope for investments and for shared prosperity going forward. And therefore, I think Indian companies, if you look at the FDI data, the last data that we had, outward investments have grown at a much faster rate. And that tells us that the ambition in this economy, the entrepreneurship is humongous. Also look at it the other way. If you look at the Indian IPO market, right, the primary market, what we've seen is it was the largest or the biggest such market in the world last year by value. And in terms of volumes, again, it was the largest. And therefore, if you look at not just the India macro story, right, which is the GDP and going on to become 7 trillion and doubling every 7 years, I think also look at the micro India story. Indian companies have an ROE of more than 20%, and which is second only to the United States. So India's story is backed by a macro and a promise of an economy that is going to double at 4 trillion every 7 years, and also a micro story where we have corporate governance, we have ambition in corporate India to grow, and I think this combination is going to be great for the partnership of EU and India going forward.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that positive ending that you have just announced or explained. You already mentioned it. It's us between you and your lunch, and we're looking into many hungry faces. We got the sign already, so I would like to thank you. There are more factors that we had to leave out. I would have loved to speak about China as well and the implications there, but again, let's end on a positive note and take what you just said, the attractiveness of the market, and of course the great potential of the Indo-German, Indo-European collaboration. Thank you very much. Thanks for your insights. Thank you for listening, and
thank you.
It's not thanks.
Requesting all the gentlemen on stage to please stay on stage, and of course requesting Ruben Kasper to take the stage, and requesting Sridharan Ramakrishnan to please come on stage to present the shawl as well. And of course, requesting Stefan and everybody else to stay back for the photo opportunity as well. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Shri. Thank you, Ruben. And with that, it's time for what we've been waiting for quite a while now.